This is Hannibal here from the Hannibal TV on YouTube. And Ricky Starks, who has been in AEW and not used for about a year now, did an interview after he appeared on NXT tonight for the second time and did his kayfabe contract signing. I'm not very interested in him as a wrestler. I'd never cared about him or really heard of him until he started asking for his AEW release and it started getting in the news that Tony Khan wasn't using him. What's the big mystery here? So, the most fascinating thing about all this to me is Tony Khan essentially created all the momentum for the debut of Ricky Starks with this long buildup to him getting his release, then him appearing on NXT right after his release, and having him not do jobs or anything on his way out, because that would have put his value way down. Instead, it's this guy that hasn't been used for a year, and now he's finally getting his chance to unload the shackles. But he did an interview right after his NXT thing, right after it went off the air. And let me review some of the things he said that I found interesting. Now, I am neutral here. I don't like it, find any of the companies entertaining. Personally, I do like some of the highlights here and there, but I find the news more interesting than any of the products these days. So, as I do find AEW's business model insane. Like, for instance, this whole thing with Ricky Starks. Why just pay a guy to sit at home when you could have been jobbing him out this whole time, making other stars that are still with the company bigger stars, and not letting this guy go when the internet's talking about him. But here's some things that I found interesting out of what he said. I guess he was at the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania while he was still under contract for AEW. He says that his boss, Tony Khan, at the time was okay with it. To me, I'll just say it. If you're in competition with another company and you want to show up to another company's pay per view, that's disloyalty. To me, that's disloyalty. Tony Khan may have said he's okay with it, but to me, that's somebody. I mean, whether he wanted the video of him there to show up or not, that is not a good thing if you want to get a push. So whether he says that's an issue or not, to me, that explains some of it, why he may not have been getting a push. Then it goes on. Apparently, his injury wasn't as serious as reported, and his time off was more precautionary. So he's definitely not old school. I mean, these guys hardly wrestle, and they're going to take time off as a precautionary measure. To me, as a promoter or booker, it's like there's a guy that's not going to fight through injuries if we give him a push. Not that Tony Khan thinks that way, but to me, there's a couple of red flags. I'm paying him hundreds of thousands a year. He's going to show up at other companies' pay-per-views, and he's going to take time off as quote unquote precautionary measures for injuries. I don't know if that's AEW's call or his, but to me, like, to be precautionary, if it's not that serious an injury, to me, that just shows that you're not that tough. I'm sorry. And wrestling is supposed to be about toughness. I know it's not anymore. And that's one of the reasons why I don't like it. And he also says that there were some veterans, quote unquote, sticking their nose in his creative business. And he says that shouldn't have happened, that he didn't play the political game well, which I don't either. And this video is not going to help me at all politically. So I could understand with him there. But after reading this interview, I understand why AEW didn't push him, even just based on those things. There could be more stuff he's not saying, but showing up at WWE pay-per-view events and maybe not, if you're gonna have want to take precautionary injury time off. I mean, it's not like they wrestle that hard a schedule. I mean, to me, I wouldn't want to push a guy like that either. The only mistake I would have made, which I think AEW made, they should have jobbed this guy out and not given him this big, oh, he's being held back. The chains are off. Now he's debuting. So now people like me and others are talking about him, where we wouldn't have been saying a peep if he had been jobbed out and just quietly released. So there's my opinion on that. And wish everybody good morning, good afternoon, or good night, wherever you are.